Hi, this is Vicki Baker. I'm a regional elder with First Harvest Ministries. I've been passing out pamphlets for, it seems like a couple years now, and I've taken up reading them along with passing them out. That way, if you aren't a big reader and you would still like to know this powerful truth, just come along with me while I read this pamphlet. And I hope you truly enjoy it. This one is called The Real Meaning of the Word Sabbath, and it's written by Pastor Shane Vaughn, who is the founder of First Harvest Ministries. What I'm looking for is the purest definition of the word Sabbath. There are a lot of definitions. Some seem to think that it's merely the day of worship or the day of rest. However, in its purest sense, the word Sabbath doesn't mean any of those things. But the words rest and worship are simple byproducts of the Sabbath. If you want to know what the Sabbath is, the exact meaning of the word Sabbath, it is no more and no less than a fixed period of time. Did you know that time is Yahweh's, God's, creation? He alone created it, and therefore, he alone has the copyright to the creation called time. He also, as the author of time, has the power to relegate time, to name time, to authorize time, to divide time. He divided and categorized his creation called time perfectly in the book of Genesis. In a series of 7 days, or 7 periods of fixed time, the rhythmic patterns of the economy of earth was perfectly set by imperial hands. Everything was set into motion on purpose and with the preciseness of the diamond pen. As a result, the fourth day, the third day, are set in something more solid than stone. They are set in the sun, the moon, and the stars. These set days are 24-hour periods of time, and nothing will change those set numbers until eternity overrides time. You will never, so long as you live, turn the third day into the fourth day. You simply cannot do it. You do not have the copyright, nor do you have the author's permission to alter the authorship of this day in any way or form. As a result, the Sabbath day is a fixed period of time. The holy period of time, it is perfectly regulated by the sun, moon, and stars. It is the 7th 24-hour period in a weekly cycle. Once you have gone through day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, then you find the Sabbath. The Sabbath, it starts Friday evening when the sun goes down and then completes its holy cycle on the evening of the Sabbath day, known as Saturday. When the sun goes down, that's it. It's over. At this point, you either missed it, ignored it, or kept it like Yahweh commanded all true believers, all true Israelites, to do. If the Sabbath is simply a fixed period of time, can you do anything to change that fixed period of time? Again, for emphasis, can you ever change the Sabbath if it is a fixed period of time? If you could, then that would mean you could move the entire heavenly host around. You, nor any other earthly authority, cannot move the God-fixed Sabbath. The Sabbath is a specific set time by sun and moon and the stars. You cannot just play checkers with days. Our cycle of days are fixed by heavenly dominions and bodies, the sun, moon, and stars. To change them would require that you reconfigure the planetary alignment. Yet, mere humans, mere people are usurping authority and changing the Sabbath like they have power to change time. Calling any other day your Sabbath is anti-Bible and therefore anti-Christ. To engage in such rhetoric is the crime of fraud. You are replacing the original with an impostor, similar to the identity theft of a person. I work at an automobile dealership, and most people are wanting to set their appointment with me to buy their vehicles on the 7th day of the week. They ask, can we come Saturday? I let them know I don't work on the 7th day. I then tell them that's the Sabbath day, and after a few seconds of awkward silence, they politely then say, yes, well, my Sabbath is on Sunday. And I say, exactly right, your Sabbath is on Sunday, but Yahweh's Sabbath is on the 7th day of the week. To change that is identity theft. You are misrepresenting. If you are calling the first day of the 7th day, if you are calling the first day the 7th day, then you have committed theft. Why do we keep the Sabbath? Quite plainly because of a scripture we find in Acts 5, verse 29. We ought to obey God rather than man. It's an undeniable fact that men changed the 7th day Sabbath to the first day of the week. I'll never know how or why, what authority you can move a day around. It is confusion and madness. It is taking man's authority over God's authority. Yahweh said, the 7th day shall be a Sabbath unto Yahweh. Not the first, second, third day, but only the 7th. Many people around the world are accepting the Sabbath day message that is being restored to our apostolic faith. Ezekiel 20, verse 12, also I gave them my Sabbath as a sign between us, so they would know that I, the Lord, made them set apart. This issue of the Sabbath is going to be one of the separating factors at the end time. We are told in the verse above that the Sabbath is to be a sign. Let's discuss what a sign it is. My wedding ring is a sign or symbol. What do signs do? They say something. They convey a message to you. A stop sign gives you a message to stop. A sign is a message. This ring that I wear is a sign of my relationship. When you see the sign, you see the relationship. Between Yahweh and Israel, there is a sign between husband and wife, and that sign is Sabbath, the 7th day. It is the sign that you have chosen to obey Yahweh rather than man. Exodus 31, verse 13. Say to the Israelites, you must observe my Sabbaths. This will be a sign between me and you for the generations to come, so you may know that I am the Lord who makes you holy. Can you honestly ask me why we keep the Sabbath? I just gave you a Bible command that Israel, the church, the called out ones of Israel, the commands that you shall keep my Sabbath, not the Pentecostal Sabbath or the Baptist Sabbath, but my Sabbath, and you shall keep it forever, not just until Yeshua comes. Through all of your generations, what does that mean? Are we still having children? Are we still considered Israel? The Sabbath should be a sign in every generation. Now remember, Israel is the bride of Yahweh. Israel is the only nation in the world that Yahweh has claimed as his bride. This is the prototype nation, the first harvest nation. This is the nation that Yahweh is perfecting right now, so that through them all the other nations of the world might come to know that God of Israel. This is the purpose of our holy calling. We are not called for privilege, but rather for responsibility as law keepers, the keepers of the 10 Commandments of the Almighty God. He wanted her separated from the pagan religions of the world. When Yah called Abraham from the land of Ur, the first thing Abram did was destroy his father's idols. The Almighty wanted him to stop worshiping the way of these heathens, and Yah was going to teach Abraham and all his descendants the way he desired to be worshipped. Ezekiel 22, verse 26. Her priests do violence to my law and profane my holy things. They do not distinguish between the holy and the common. They teach that there is no difference between the unclean and the clean. And they shut their eyes to the keeping of my Sabbath, so that I may profane them among them. The Sabbath is considered by Yahweh to be holy, but the preachers have profaned these holy things and failed the church in teaching the difference between the holy and the unholy. Your job as a minister of the gospel is not to make friends, nor to make people smile. Your job is to be the separator between what God calls holy and what he calls pagan. Elijah went through tearing down the pagan ways of Israel to restore the right ways of Yahweh, but we quit putting a difference between these things. The first question people ask me concerning the Sabbath day, they ask, what is the difference? What difference does it make? It makes all the difference because there is only one day of the week that is holy and claimed by Yahweh that bears his seal and his authority. In contrast, the first day is claimed by paganism as their invincible day of the sun, reserved for sun worship. Their entire history is sun worship on the day that they named after their sun god. The history can be found all the way back to the earliest civilizations of the Sumerian, the Babylonians, the Egyptians. They all worshipped on the first day. This is why Yahweh told Abraham to leave sun worship on the first day in order to learn about the Sabbath day. Yahweh called Abraham out of paganism and teaches him his laws and commandments. These commandments surely include the Sabbath day. How do we know this? Because his children, the house of Israel, must have been very familiar with the keeping of Sabbath. We know this because when they left Egypt, where evidently they had forsaken the Sabbath, the very first lesson that Yahweh teaches them is Sabbath observance and commands them to remember the Sabbath. How could they remember what they or their ancestors had never done? Yahweh is looking for a people that will put a value on the difference between Israel and the other nations of the world. We are called to point out a difference. Oh, how our anti-agonists love to reply, but I can worship God any day of the week. We gladly reply that you are exactly right. If the Sabbath was about worship and rest, you would be right. But the Sabbath isn't about either one primarily. The Sabbath is about the fixed period of time called the seventh day of the week, and on that day alone, we are commanded to rest from our normal labor and have a holy gathering or convocation. So many people say that they say it from a good heart. I can love God every day. Of course you can. But again, the primordial meaning of Sabbath isn't worship. The first and ultimate meaning is the seventh day, a fixed period. We're not commanded to worship any other day. The other 6 days you shall work. Only one day and consecrated unto the Lord. When we worship him in holy fellowship with the congregation of Israel, then we are identifying with what he calls holy. Sunday worship is pagan. If you love truth, all you have to do is go to search engine and type in sun worship and just begin to read. After you do your research, your eyes will open as you discover that it was indeed a set-aside time of pagan worship. Other well-meaning Christians say, we're going to claim that day for God. Who gave you that command? Who asked you to claim that day? Do we not well remember the tragedy of David and Ziklag? Do you remember that he went out to fight a good battle, to claim a city for Yahweh with the best of intention? However, while he was gone in battle to claim what Yahweh never told him to claim, he lost everything. He loved in his hometown of Ziklag. God don't need you to claim Sunday. He didn't claim it, and he don't need you to claim it. Why, you ask? Because he is Lord of the Sabbath. This is what he has claimed as his own until such a time as he returns to claim the other 6 days. There's a reason that he's Lord of the Sabbath. All 6 days have been allotted to Satan. The book of Job tells us that the earth has been placed in the hands of the wicked for 6 days. The earth has been turned over to the government of Lucifer and mankind. The owner of a home allows the lessee decorate the home however he desires according to the terms of the lease. The owner can't put you out because you got a lease or an agreement. According to the scripture, we know that Satan was given authority over the earth before the beginning, and as such he understood his allotted time to govern the earth 6 days or 6,000 years. Yahweh wants our attention on the seventh day for a reason. Every week after of 6 days of trouble, during your weekly struggle, he wants you to be reminded that on the seventh day, on the 7,000th year, everything is going to be made right. He is the Lord of that day. He claims that day. We claim that day. We identify with that day. We own the celebrity rights to that day. The Sabbath isn't primarily about a church gathering or rest, but rather a fixed period of time called the seventh day. So many others like to repeat the old excuse of rebellion against the Sabbath with Jesus is my Sabbath. And yet not one of them can ever show you where Jesus said that indeed he did say, "Come unto me and I will give you rest." Is the phrase "I will" a present or future statement? In the future tense, he will give you rest. You don't have that rest now. Quite the opposite is true. You were actually more at rest while living in sin. When you came to Christ, you were enlisted into a battle. You began the painful experience of war on the day when you got started with him. What war? A war that previously did not exist for you. A war between flesh and spirit, and you've been waging it every day. Here in this pilgrim land, there is no rest for the weary. This is a fight of faith until the end, the rest assured that if we endure till the end, then he will give us rest. When does the rest come? Exactly when the prophets said it's going to come, on the day of the Lord, which is the millennial reign of Christ on the earth on the seventh day, or the 7,000th year, when the wicked shall cease from troubling and the weary shall be at rest. That's when rest comes. Leviticus 18 verse 3. You must not do as they do in Egypt. There you used to live, and you must not do as they do in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you. Do not follow their practices. Yahweh says to the children of Israel in the verse above, I've delivered you from the religious system perpetrated upon you by the Pope of Rome. He continues to tell us now, don't do what you were used to doing while you were there. I'm teaching you the better way, the right way. He tells us, no need for their Halloweens and pagan traditions. I have my own traditions. I want to teach you to be a people after my way. Leviticus 18 verse 4, you must obey my laws and be careful to follow my decrees. I am the Lord your God. God detests the pagans' ways so much that when he gave their lands to the children of Israel, he instructed them not to even take the gold from their idols. Yahweh's got a schedule and ordinance. He has his own plans, and he wants his bride to get in on it. He wants us to get connected with it. He is calling us to get in on the heavenly dance, the heavenly rhythm. Don't take the gold of Babylon and hide it under your tent with good intentions of using it for a holy purpose. Simply obey Yahweh, and don't be as Saul, who saved a few sheep from the pagans to use in the service of Yahweh. God doesn't need anything from the pagans. He doesn't need you to convert them. He simply needs you to be Israel. Deuteronomy 7 verse 25, the images of their gods you are to burn in the fire. Do not covet the silver and gold on them, and do not take it for yourselves, or you will be ensnared by it, for it is detestable to the Lord your God. What do you desire? Simple obedience or 1,000 excuses as to why and how you can take something pagan and use it in Yahweh's service? The children of Israel made the same mistake that we do. They said, we will destroy the pagan gods, but let's get the gold, and we can use it for a good work. We can increase our crowd. However, Yahweh said, shut up and quit looking for excuses and quit desiring their way. Quite simply, he tells us it is pagan. He challenges our love by asking us to make his way and desire only his holy days, desire his Sabbath, desire his way of life and his Torah. Deuteronomy 7 verse 26, do not bring a detestable thing into your house, or you, like it, will be set apart for destruction. Regard it as vile and utterly detest it, for it is set apart for destruction. We must detest anything that is contrary to the ways of Israel, Yahweh's holy nation, the church of the living God. Sometimes people are surprised when they meet me in person and I come across totally different to them than I seem to be in my preaching and my writings. They are surprised to see how laid back I am and how much I love to laugh and cut up, how I love to make people feel welcome. I am considered the life of the party, always making sure that everyone has a good time. That's my nature, true nature. But when I begin to talk of those things and fulfill my role as a minister of Yahweh, a change takes place. An absolute abhorrence comes up in me for the things that are robbing Yahweh's people of their blessings. Paganism. In closing, many people try to rebuff or stand against paganism with such silly statements as, everything is pagan. In theory, you are correct. Many things in the earth today that we do on a daily basis can be tied to paganism. I agree. For example, pagans eat 3 meals a day and they brush their teeth and they love nature and so forth and so on. However, you are missing the forest for the trees. You're missing the point. And all of those commands that Yahweh gave Israel about paganism, it always had to do with the worship of their gods. Brushing one's teeth has nothing to do with the worship. However, their holy days and their holy customs were all dedicated to their gods. In response, Yahweh tells us, don't ever try to worship me in those ways. Thank you for sharing this valuable information about the Sabbath. Yahweh's blessings.